Is there anybody online that would want to, or might have a question or?
There are a couple people online, AAA and someone else, but
Okay.
they don't seem to be looking to ask them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to communications. So we have a number of building bylaw contraventions that we'll be dealing with tonight, and I will hand this portion of the agenda over to Ms. McIsaac.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'll speak generally to the matter of the building bylaw contraventions that we'll be dealing with tonight. And then we'll get into the specifics of each one because they do vary slightly. But just for council's information, we do contract building inspection services out to the regional district of Kootenay Boundary. And through the provisions of the BC Building Code, as well as our building bylaw, we entrust the building department to ensure that any construction, new or any renovations being made, are done with the proper building permits. Through the building permit process, there are required inspections at certain stages of construction. And so the matters before you tonight deal with construction whereby either a final inspection or other inspections haven't been called for, or where construction was undertaken without the benefit of a building permit. What we do in those situations is feel it important to alert any prospective purchasers of potential deficiencies. So on the recommendation of the building department, when they haven't been successful in having the property owners follow through with the required procedures, whether it be the inspections or the application process, they will make a recommendation back to us as the local government authority, recommending that a notice on title be registered. So that's an alert to any prospective purchasers that there may have been construction done, and because we don't know the status of inspections weren't done, or if a permit wasn't pulled, then we don't know for certain that it is in compliance with the building code. The municipality can sometimes go farther than that if you did want to see action taken. We haven't necessarily done that aggressively here in Trail. What we do hope is that when notice on title is placed, the owners will take voluntary action to rectify any deficiencies, and after which time they can have that notice removed from title. So I will speak now more specifically to each of the matters. At 1651 Columbia Avenue, the building department has advised us that the construction of the accessory building was undertaken at the property. They did so with a building permit. They called for the various inspections through the process. COVID hit, and the construction, the final stages of construction were stalled. There's just some exterior cladding that requires installation, and the final inspection has not been completed at this time. So it is being recommended that a notice on title be registered. I did hear from the property owner, Mr. Bajeko, earlier this morning. He has explained that he is unable to tend to the construction in the next 2 months, but is hoping by April to finish off the last pieces. And again, it's just the exterior cladding that requires some completion, and then he will be prepared to call for final inspection. So he is asking for an extension and expects to have the work completed by the end of June of this year. What my suggestion to you is, because we have the matter before you, and it does, once council has issued an order requiring a notice on title be placed, it provides some incentive to that property owner to meet and obtain compliance. So my recommendation is that you do proceed as the recommendation states, to direct staff to file a notice in the land title office on the title of the property at 1651 Columbia Avenue pertaining to the contravention of the City of Trail building bylaw, but staff would take pause then, and we wouldn't actually do the filing as long as council is comfortable with that, until the summer months. So we will work with the property owner, obtain their compliance. They would have to reapply for a building permit because it has lapsed, have final inspection done. But if they don't do that in a timely manner, then we've got your order of council waiting, and we can do the registration and land titles. So for 1651 Columbia Avenue, that is the recommendation that staff be directed to file a notice in the land title office, but the actual filing be held in abeyance.
So questions?
No. No,
Okay, so can I have someone make that motion as suggested? Okay. Counselor Hanson and Counselor Butler. All those in favor? Carried. So, oh, yes, it was unanimous. Thank you.
I'm gonna recuse myself due to conflict with the next agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so 4.2 building bylaw convention 904 Nelson Avenue. And Ms. McKessick,
Yeah.
thank you.
So very similar circumstances here at 904 Nelson Avenue. Construction commenced without a building permit. But when the stop work order was placed, they did immediately apply for a building permit. This goes back to 2017, prior to COVID. Property owner then under permit did not get started with any of the required restoration. So he had done a lot of the demolition in the basement area, but hasn't since done any of the framing, insulation, vapor barrier, and so hasn't called for any of the inspections. Again, I did hear from this property owner, Mr. Gerard Murphy, this morning. He has explained that no work to the basement of the premises has been done since the building permit was issued due to circumstances that are personal in nature. He has explained that they do intend to undertake the renovations in the coming months, and they're fully prepared to reapply for the building permit because it has lapsed. And then they would be able to call for the permits, the inspections that are required under permit at each stage of construction. Of particular concern at 904 Nelson Avenue, because there wasn't any communication with the building department, and there's been quite a lapse of time. It was thought that perhaps construction could have been well completed, everything all buttoned and sealed up, and they wouldn't be able to do the inspections. But we've learned today that that isn't the case. They just haven't gotten started with the work. So similarly here, because they are indicating that they have every intention to reapply for the permit, go through the process, call for inspections. Staff would recommend that you do direct notice be filed in the land title office, but we hold that in abeyance to allow them time to come into compliance with our requirements.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So can I get someone to make that motion based on the recommendation, Councillor Benson and Councillor Butler? Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. It was, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4.3, building bylaw contravention 1120 Milligan Avenue. Ms. McKessick.
Thank you, Worship. So the circumstances at 1120 Milligan Avenue differ slightly. Construction, it appears, has been undertaken. There are some alterations being made, but without the benefit of a building permit. And after the stop work order was placed, the property owners have still not made application for building permits. So it is concerning when we haven't had any efforts made to start to rectify the deficiencies. So for the property at 1120 Milligan Avenue, it is being recommended that staff be directed to file a notice in the land title office, and we would do that immediately. The property owner is then provided with notice of the action that's been taken, and we do hope that they would take steps to apply for the building permit and then have various inspections undertaken through to the end of the process. But again, in this case, we are recommending an immediate filing of a notice in the land title office.
Okay, so can I have someone make that motion, please? Councillor Benson, Councillor Martin. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously. And item 4.4 is Ron and Tammy Clark request to occupy municipal lands adjacent to 60 Hazelwood Drive. Ms. McCaskill?
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I believe council has seen this matter before. Ron and Tammy Clark, the property owners of 60 Hazelwood Drive, have made application to the city for a license of occupation so that they can occupy a small portion of city land adjacent to their property in Sunningdale. They hope to do some landscaping. There wouldn't be any permanent structures permitted. There is presently temporary carport shelter there, and they may want to install a shed, but it would not be on a permanent foundation. So when the city has lands that are considered to be excess to our needs, so there's not any underground infrastructure, we have no immediate need for the property, we can enter into license of occupations with property owners. In this case, it's just a small portion of the city property that they're wishing to utilize for their landscaping. And it is their city infrastructure on that property. It's the intake structure for the water treatment plant. But where the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, are hoping to utilize wouldn't impact the city's use of the property nor our infrastructure there. However, that said, with any license of occupation that we enter into, we do reserve cancellation rights. So this, again, wouldn't be a permanent disposition of that portion of land. It just gives them rights to use it in common with the city. When we do enter into a license, we do attach an annual fee. It is based on the property's assessed value, and an estimate for the annual fee from last year would have been $128 for this small portion of land. And we invoice the property owners accordingly, and they are aware of those charges that will apply. So unless there is any concerns from council, it is being recommended that council authorize Ron and Tammy Clark's use of the city lands adjacent their property at 60 Hazelwood Drive as requested, and that an annual fee for the use of the land be applied.
Okay, so can I have someone make that motion, please? Councillor Cashel, Councillor Martin, all those in favor? Thank you, carried unanimously. Okay, on to item number 5. We have a couple of bylaws here that to get recommendations on, and I will hand this portion of the agenda over to our CAO, Councillor McClure, Colin McClure.
Thanks, Mayor Jones. So as directed and as required in a sense for the city to get out our utility bills for 2023, council did meet on December 20th and went over a number of reports. Today was this, because they're two separate bylaws, we're starting off with garbage and waste, and then we will go into water and sewer utility rates for 2023. When looking at this with council, this is a situation where when we look at the expenses that are kind of adding pressure, they are mostly related to the cost of the contract, which again has an escalating cost. And so this is where we came up with the rate of 2.8%. And that will increase the rate by $3. And now again, that's $3.13. Now this is the rate after discount. So 1.7, I believe is the rate before that. Again, the city does kind of a combination. So we collect these funds. We use a large portion of them go towards the contractor, GFL, who goes and picks up the garbage from our residential collection on a weekly basis. In the same time, there's also some funds set aside for more of that vegetation work in the spring and in the fall, where we have our public works crew come along and allows our community members to get any of that sort of vegetation that they gathered over either the early spring as they clean their yards, and as long as they're in clear plastic, then the city is able to kind of pick them up, and then we take that for disposal. Same sort of idea. Don't know if council has any questions on this particular report, but the recommendations there that we would have be looking for first 3 readings of the new bylaw.
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation before you is that the garbage and waste bylaw amendment bylaw number 2923, 2023 receive its first, second, and third readings. Can I have someone make that motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Butler. And is there a seconder? Councillor Benson. All those in favor? Thank you. Carried unanimously.
And Mayor and Council, just so we are aware, the hope is that we would be able to have a very short meeting in the next probably the Wednesday or Thursday this week to be able to have final adoption of these rates, so that we can then print and get mailing out the notices to our public, and that allows them a good deal of time to make the February 28th discount date. Okay, and moving on to the water and sewer rates. Again, in doing some work here, this is my first go round, and I know that there's work to do as far as making sure that council is comfortable with the capital amount and what the plan is and what funding is available. But understanding that with where we're at for this year, especially with the election in place, it makes it a little bit difficult to have those meetings because you're kind of dealing with a council you may not know, may not be returning, so that sometimes can make it challenging to have rates agreed to in the year of an election. Again, when we do this for 2024, we will be talking in October and November and having a number of meetings and as far as that goes. This one being a bit tighter, we ended up having one meeting, and some of you would sort of baptism by fire or that sort of thing, and a lot of information at a time. But the commitment is that based on the information that we have for capital for the current 2023 year, as Director McIsaac went through on his presentation, and looking at where we're at for the reserve balances and the operating both revenue and operational expenses, we felt comfortable, or the direction was that from council after that presentation was an 8.5% increase to water and a 5% for sewer. This again, after discount, will result in a $31 increase in your water standard water fee, and a $13 increase in your sewer fee, for about $44 overall, about $3.69 per month. Sometimes it's good to kind of talk about it in those parameters, just to give people a context of things. And again, there's an ongoing, there's a commitment here. One of the things that was placed into, in particular, the water capital fund was an update to the water master plan, which I think is going to be key for council, having and staff being able to come and present with the backup of someone looking at our system and kind of pointing out the priorities. We certainly in that presentation kind of mapped out what, based on the information that we had, what the next 15 years looks like, and certainly there's some capital upgrades that are necessary. So the hope is that we'll get more defined case when we come around for 2024 and understand, what do we need to do? What funding models do we need to have? Do we need to borrow? And some of those questions we'll be able to go over in much more detail in the October, November of 2023 as we prepare for 2024 and onwards. Again, Mayor, looking for first 3 readings to be presented for council.
Okay. Thank you. So the recommendation before you is that the Waterworks and Sanitary Sewer Regulation Bylaw Amendment, bylaw number 2924, 2023, receive its first, second, and third readings. Can I have someone make that motion, please? Yep. Councillor Cashel and Councillor Butler, thank you. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we're on to council committee reports. First one up tonight is Councillor Benson. No update from tonight. Okay, thank you. Councillor Butler.
No update from me either.
Okay, this is going to be quick tonight. Councillor Cashel.
I will ditto Constable Councilor Butler and Councilor Benson. Nothing to report, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Hanson.
You know what, nothing of significance. I, as well as a few of us at the table today, attended the Columbia River Treaty Workshop, which actually brought a lot of us up to speed who might have not known as much about what it was about. So it was very educational, informative to understand what's going on and with our neighbors as well as ourselves in the basin.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Councillor Hanson, I attended the Columbia River Treaty seminar today as well. It was very informative, and that would be it for my report because Christmas just happened. Everybody was off.
It was quiet, wasn't it? Councillor Wilson.
Same thing, you wish I had nothing to report.
Okay, so I actually had a report. I'll give my report tonight from the Governance and Operations Committee meeting of January 9th, 2023. This afternoon at the meeting, we had a very interesting and detailed report on the Active Transportation Network Plan. First, I want to give a big thank you to Dave Moorhead and his presentation and WSP that did the work behind the scenes getting this report ready for us. This report heard from 516 residents, which was really, really important to get their feedback. That was just the phase 1 part. On the phase 2 part, they heard from 308 residents about what they want for transportation in their community and the outlying areas. The top objectives for the plan and what the community was telling us that we need to do for this area. Number 1 was to improve the bicycle infrastructure plan. Improve and expand the sidewalks, a safety issue. Sometimes the sidewalks can get a little bit well used, and we need to expand that too because it's more important. It's so important for people to be physically active in their transportation. And they also, number 3 was improve the pedestrian street crossings, another safety issue and very important so people can, be walking and getting to their workplace or their doctor's appointments, whatever they need to do downtown, they're shopping for groceries. And number 4 was to be able to connect to recreational trails. And so all those items were highlighted in this plan, and I'm really excited to say that council adopted it to move forward and hopefully see some changes in the transportation network in our community. My second report is like the other council members. It has been fairly quiet over the holidays. I just wanted to report out that I was invited and attended the library board dinner, Christmas dinner, and it was very nice to see everyone. And actually, Councillor Cashel was also in attendance. He is the new liaison for the library board. So it was a very nice evening. We got to meet the board members and interact with them and have a wonderful dinner and wish everybody, happy holidays and all the best in the new year. It was just a really nice event. I've also, several community members have taken the opportunity to come in and do a meet and greet with me, which is kind of exciting, just to talk about some of the concerns they have in the community and, what they want to see happen in the future. And having said that, I just want everybody to know my door is always open to have this opportunity. And I think it's a great way to hear people's concerns and meet, citizens of the community. Today, I also attended a little bit late getting there because of another meeting, but the Columbia River Treaty Local Government Committee, which provided an introduction to the work that the committee is doing. Sorry, I'm a bit sticky here. And that's my report. It was a very quiet couple of weeks, but, was able to keep a little bit busy, and it's, nice to be back in council and doing some good work. That's my report. Any questions or comments? Okay. So the consent agenda, item number 7, is a report on the invoices paid for the municipal services December 1st to December 31st, 2022. And the recommendation is that it be received for information. Can I get someone to make that motion? Councilor Martin, Councilor Butler. And the department reports, the recommendation is
Voting on the motion.
Sorry?
Voting on the motion for the consent.
Oh, great. Can I get a vote on the motion for the receipt of information on the invoices? Thank you. Unanimous. I always skip that part. Any new business? No, thank you. Item number 9 is department reports. The bylaw enforcement department, December 2022 report. The recommendation is that this report be received for information. May I have someone make that motion? Councilor Butler, Councilor Hanson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I know that I had sent out some information to council on the report, and again, just sort of why there was a breakdown between sort of the traffic bylaw violation issue bylaw officer. So again, we have sort of 2 bylaw. Okay, so that was the one question I had, and then I didn't know if there was any concern on some of the numbers, the type of violation, and whether or not that information sufficed for what council was looking for, or if there was more of a breakdown still. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is item number 10, and that's call for adjournment.
Yeah.
Councilor Martin, thank you. Carried unanimously. Thanks, you guys.